It's day 18 of our great Western adventure. And this is the monologue where we talk about the highs and the lows of the day. Well, we had a really late night last night. So this morning we just decided to sleep in pretty darn late, actually. And don't think we got going until like 9 o'clock in the morning. Beautiful campground, especially when we woke up in the morning and you could see where everything was. Loaded up the car, and then we were in actually one of the little pocket campgrounds of Ocean Lake, which is located about 30 miles northwest of Riverton, Wyoming. And we kind of backtracked around to the western side of the lake to where the main campground is, which sits on a peninsula jutting out into the lake. Pretty nice campground. We circled back to the state highway on the north side of Ocean Lake, drove only about like 10, 15 miles to Midvale, Wyoming, and we hadn't had any breakfast yet. There was a cafe in Midvale. Actually, there's not much in Midvale except for the cafe post office and like three houses. We had an early lunch. Oh, I should say Midvale, and hopefully I'm not going to tick off anybody here, but yeah, this is center of Wyoming, and at this point in time, this is Trump country, and there was even a giant President Trump cutout which you could take pictures with. Also, this place is really neat. Classic Western cafe with all sorts of Western gear, cowboy stuff, and kind of cutesy, you know, frontier sayings like "Don't tread on me" or "I'll get my shotgun." That sort of thing. There's, you know, culture is where you are, and this was the culture there. So don't point your fingers at me. It's just that's the way it is. I'm not saying I agree or disagree with it, but it was just kind of neat to see. Oh, and the food was pretty darn good too. From there, we headed due east, where we picked up the highway between Everton and Thermopolis, and we did a little bit of rock climbing and also toured uh, the canyon here, which is very narrow. It's the river is dug over the millennium, a very deep valley between the mountains, and through this, the river, the railroad, and the highway have to get through. And there's a number of tunnels just to make this happen. There's also a geological history here too, with demonstrated by the roadside. At the north end of the canyon, drops you out at Thermopolis, which was our destination for the day. So really easy day. That's it. We did like 100 miles. Our first stop was to the campground, and we had not been, we had been very busy with touring Yellowstone and everything else. So we hadn't had really time to take care of the domestic chores. So first thing when we got to the campground was get set up, get laundry going, get showers, and just kind of take inventory of what we had in our Subaru. Luckily, we were there about 3:30 in the afternoon when we arrived, because this definitely took several hours to accomplish. Once we got everything back to the car and folded and us cleaned and dry, also, we headed out to the town of Thermopolis, and we just kind of picked up some sandwiches for dinner and some other stuff. And we went to see what Thermopolis is famous for, which is their hot springs and bathhouses. And we're talking regular bathhouses, as in soaking pools and swimming pools. Even the state has their own bathhouse. Through that particular one was closed down because of the lockdown, which is ongoing as of 2020. We'll be open in 2021. I promise you that. Oh yeah, and that's the place to go if you're visiting. If you want a no frills, low cost thing. There are also several private facilities here too, and a water slide and other water park sort of amusements here. There's also a big city park, and the railroad goes through here too, but there's only a few trains a day. The other thing Thermopolis has going for it is they actually have the spring where all these bathhouses get their water from, open and not to the public on public land. So you can actually go to and see that spring that historically has been here and been used for like, well, hundreds of years, and commercially developed for about 100 years. Also, you have the ponds that store the spring water before it's pumped into the bathhouses and the hot spring. The bathhouses and the pools, and there also is the Thermopolis Terrace, which is a natural terrace formed by the mineralization from the hot spring water, and it's massive. I mean, it's several hundred feet wide by 200 feet long, and which the water just flows across what is kind of essentially a table, and then literally drops down 100-foot cliff to the river below. And part of this here is the old highway bridge, which has now been converted over to a pedestrian walkway. And this suspension bridge is definitely worth the 4-minute walk from the parking area. Oh, and it bounces up and down too. Not, it's definitely safe, but it's a typical suspension bridge. Well, it was already getting dark by the time we actually got to the terraces, and when we finished walking around, it was completely dark. So we just drove the 5 to 10 minutes back to the campground, and that was the end of our day. And which is because we were early to the campground, we just relaxed and were able to have a campfire and just took it easy. Well, that's it for now. And if you're watching this, well, by the time this gets published, you need to check out the New Mexico escape because the first episodes will be coming out very soon. Have a great evening.